Hello there, and welcome to the Dreamy Facts channel. Listen closely. What if I told you that the pyramids hold secrets that defy everything you think you know? What if the stones themselves are 40 million years older than the civilization that built them? What if deep inside there is a room that has kept the same temperature for 4,500 years? And what if the builders left a hidden message that was only found in the 21st century? Tonight, we're uncovering 100 facts about the pyramids that will leave you in awe. But don't worry, we'll explore them in a way that's so calm, so peaceful. You might just drift off before we're done. So close your eyes, relax, and let's step into the silent, stunning world of the pyramids. Let's begin. The Great Pyramid is primarily built from local limestone, quarried from the Giza plateau itself. This stone, called nummulitic limestone, is filled with tiny, fossilized sea creatures, evidence that the area was once underwater millions of years ago. The core blocks are rough and irregular, fitted together with a mortar made from gypsum. This inner mass was never meant to be seen. Its purpose was structural, to bear the immense weight of the pyramid and provide a stable core for the beautiful, smooth casing stones that would later be placed on the outside, creating that iconic, gleaming slope. No pyramid, including the Great Pyramid, has been found with its original capstone or pyramidion intact. These pyramidions were likely made of fine, polished limestone or even electrum, a mix of gold and silver. They were relatively small, perhaps a meter or so at the base, but highly symbolic, representing the Benben stone, the primordial mound from which creation sprang in Egyptian mythology. Their absence is a mystery. They may have been stolen, destroyed, or simply never placed. Modern pyramids sometimes have ceremonial capstones added during construction, completion, rituals. Beneath the visible base of the Great Pyramid lies a complex foundation. The builders first leveled the bedrock to create a perfectly flat platform. In areas where the limestone bedrock was uneven, they carved it down or built it up with massive stone blocks to create a level surface. This meticulous leveling was crucial for the pyramid's stability and precise alignment. The corners of the pyramid were anchored into solid bedrock, and the entire foundation was designed to distribute the structure's incredible weight evenly, preventing subsidence for over 4.5 millennia. An average limestone block in the Great Pyramid weighs about 2.5 tons, roughly the weight of a large male African elephant. The larger granite blocks, like those in the King's Chamber, weigh between 25 to 80 tons. To move just one of these average blocks, it would require the coordinated effort of dozens of workers using ropes and wooden sledges. The sheer number of blocks over 2.3 million means the total volume of stone is immense. If you tried to build a wall 1 foot thick and 10 feet high around France, you would use roughly the same amount of stone contained in the Great Pyramid. Archaeological excavations at the workers' village near Giza reveal a surprisingly nutritious diet for the pyramid builders. They were fed bread, fish from the Nile, and meat from cattle, sheep, and goats. Evidence shows they ate large amounts of legumes like lentils and chickpeas, providing protein. They also had access to fruits like dates and figs, and beer was a staple drink, safer than water and a source of calories. This diet was far from a slave's meager rations. It was designed to fuel the intense physical labor required for moving massive stones day after day, year after year. Some researchers propose that the 3 main Giza pyramids mirror the 3 stars of Orion's belt in the constellation Orion. This theory, known as the Orion correlation theory, suggests the Nile River represented the Milky Way. The alignment is not perfect and is debated, but it highlights the ancient Egyptians' deep fascination with the stars. They believed the pharaoh's soul would travel to join the circumpolar stars, which never set, granting him eternal life. The precise north-south and east-west orientation of the pyramids further supports their profound connection to celestial movements and cosmology. The Grand Gallery inside the Great Pyramid is a magnificent ascending corridor with a corbelled roof. Its unique architecture creates interesting acoustic properties. Some experiments have shown that certain low-frequency sounds, like chanting or drumming, can resonate powerfully. Within this long, narrow, and tall space, this resonance could produce a disorienting or meditative effect. While there is no direct evidence this was intentional, it's possible the architects were aware of the phenomenon. The sound of footsteps or voices in the otherwise silent, dark gallery would have been a profound experience for anyone entering thousands of years ago. Pharaoh Djedefre, son of Khufu, built his pyramid at Abu Rawash, north of Giza. It was likely intended to rival his father's. However, it was never completed and was heavily quarried in later periods for its stone. What remains suggests it might have been built on a higher elevation than the Great Pyramid, making it appear taller from certain angles. Its pyramidion, or capstone, made of pink granite, was discovered nearby. This site is less visited, offering a quieter glimpse into the pyramid building process and the political shifts that could leave such a monumental project unfinished and forgotten. The bent pyramid at Dashur, built for Pharaoh Sneferu, has a unique shape. Its lower half rises at a steep 4 angle, but the upper half suddenly shifts to a shallower 43 degrees. This is likely an engineering correction made mid-construction. The builders, realizing the initial angle was too steep and risked causing the structure to collapse under its own weight, opted to reduce the angle to ensure stability. This pyramid represents a critical learning step in the evolution from step pyramids to true smooth-sided pyramids, leading directly to the successful construction of the Red Pyramid and later the Great Pyramid. The Red Pyramid at Dashur, also built by Sneferu, gets its name from the reddish hue of its limestone core blocks. Its original smooth white Tura limestone casing was almost entirely removed over centuries, exposing the rusty-colored stone beneath. It is considered Egypt's first successful, true, smooth-sided pyramid. Its internal chambers are accessible and feature a corbelled roof, similar to the Grand Gallery, but on a smaller scale. Climbing inside is a journey through compact, sloping passages that lead to large, empty, and eerily silent rooms, where the only sound is the echo of your own breath in the ancient, dusty air. The Pyramid of Unas at Saqqara is small and largely collapsed, but it is historically priceless. Its burial chamber walls are inscribed with hieroglyphs known as the pyramid texts, the oldest known religious writings in the world. These are not historical records, but a collection of spells, incantations, and rituals designed to protect the pharaoh's soul, guide him through the afterlife, and ensure his resurrection and union with the sun god Ra. The blue-painted hieroglyphs, filled with symbols of snakes, birds, and gods, cover the walls in vertical columns, creating a magical cocoon of words meant to last for eternity. Deep beneath the Great Pyramid, carved directly into the bedrock, lies a rough, unfinished chamber. It is accessed by a long, descending passage. This room appears incomplete, with a seemingly hastily dug pit in its floor. Its purpose remains one of the pyramid's great mysteries. Some theorize it was the original planned burial chamber, later abandoned. Others suggest it had a symbolic purpose related to the underworld. The air here is still and cool. The silence is absolute, broken only by the occasional drip of groundwater, a reminder of the pyramid's deep connection to the earth itself. Inside some of the relieving chambers above the king's chamber in the Great Pyramid, rough red ochre graffiti was found in the 19th century. These are quarry marks and work gang names, such as the Friends of Khufu Gang or the Vigorous Gang. These casual inscriptions, never meant to be seen again, provide a rare human connection to the builders. They are administrative notes identifying the work crew responsible for that particular set of blocks. They confirm the pyramid's attribution to Khufu and offer a glimpse into the organized, team-based labor structure that built the wonder over a 20-year period. Two long rectangular pits carved into the rock lie on the south side of the Great Pyramid. In 1954, one was found to contain a magnificent cedarwood boat, disassembled into 1,224 pieces. It took years to reassemble. This solar barque was likely a ritual vessel meant to carry the Ba, resurrected pharaoh, across the sky with the sun god Ra. A second sealed pit was explored with a camera in 1987, revealing another disassembled boat, still untouched. These boats, built with intricate rope lashings and no nails, in showcase advanced woodworking and a deep religious belief in a celestial journey after death. In 2016, a thermal scanning project of the Great Pyramid revealed intriguing temperature anomalies. Several limestone blocks at the base on the eastern side showed a heat signature, about 6 degrees Celsius warmer than neighboring blocks. This suggests the presence of an empty space, a different construction material, or perhaps an air current behind the stones. These thermal voids sparked speculation about hidden chambers, but they could also be explained by variations in stone density or moisture content. The discovery highlights how modern, non-invasive technology continues to probe the pyramid's secrets without disturbing its ancient fabric. The step pyramid of Giza at Saqqara is not just a pyramid, it's part of a vast walled funerary complex mimicking a royal palace for the afterlife. The enclosure wall, over 10 meters high, is made of fine limestone and decorated with a pattern of recessed panels, creating a play of light and shadow. The complex included a Heb-set court for ritual renewal ceremonies, dummy chapels, and colonnaded halls with fluted columns that resemble bundles of reeds. Walking through its ruins feels like navigating a stone labyrinth dedicated to ensuring the king's eternal power and presence in a monumental, silent city. Inside the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid, a thin layer of salt can sometimes be seen on the surfaces of the massive granite blocks. This is efflorescence, mineral salts being carried to the surface by slight moisture evaporation from within the stone itself. The granite contains trace minerals, and as minuscule amounts of groundwater or humidity migrate through the stone's pores, they dissolve these salts. When the water evaporates at the surface, it leaves behind these delicate, crystalline deposits. It's a slow geological process, a quiet testament to the interaction between the ancient monument and its environment over millennia. The Great Pyramid, already over 2,500 years old, underwent repairs during the Roman era. After a significant earthquake in 1303 AD caused damage. The outer casing stones, which had become loose, were partially removed and used to build mosques and fortifications in nearby Cairo. The Romans, appreciating the pyramid as an ancient wonder, may have stabilized parts of the structure. This practice of quarrying the pyramids for ready-made, high-quality building material continued for centuries, which is why the smooth outer surface is mostly gone, leaving underlying stepped core we see today, a patchwork of different historical interventions. If you look closely at the remaining casing stones at the base of the Great Pyramid, you can see distinct weathering patterns. The stone surfaces are not uniformly smooth, but are often deeply pitted and grooved. This is primarily due to wind erosion over thousands of years. Sand particles carried by the persistent desert winds have acted like a natural sand blaster, slowly but steadily, wearing away the softer parts of the limestone. The patterns tell a story of countless storms, the direction of prevailing winds, and the relentless passage of time, sculpting the monument long after its builders were gone. At Saqqara lies the buried, unfinished pyramid of Pharaoh Sekhemkhet, Djoser's successor. Only the lowest step of the pyramid was built before the project was abandoned. It's underground. Substructure, however, was excavated, revealing a complex of corridors and an alabaster sarcophagus. When opened in the 1950s, the sarcophagus was found sealed but completely empty. Not even a trace of a burial. The site feels like a ghost project, a monument to ambition cut short. The reasons remain unknown. The pharaoh's sudden death, political turmoil, or a decision to relocate his tomb elsewhere, leaving this silent, empty stone box in the dark. During the autumn and spring equinoxes, the Great Pyramid casts a shadow that, due to its precise north-south alignment, behaves in a unique way. As the sun sets, the shadow on the west side and the sunlight on the east create an effect where the pyramid appears to have two sides in light and two in shadow for a brief period. Some observers note that this creates a near-perfect octagonal shape for a few minutes, a phenomenon only possible because of the incredibly slight concavity engineered into each of the pyramid's four faces. This subtle architectural feature enhances the play of light and geometry with the moving sun. The mortar used between the limestone blocks of the Great Pyramid has been chemically analyzed but never perfectly replicated. It is primarily gypsum but contains silica and other minerals. This mortar was not merely a glue, it was slightly more elastic than the stone itself. This crucial property allowed the entire structure to flex and settle over millennia without cracking catastrophically during earthquakes. The precise recipe and mixing technique are lost. Each batch was likely mixed on site, and its quality contributed significantly to the pyramid's durability, acting as a flexible cushion between the massive, rigid blocks. The so-called Queen's Chamber inside the Great Pyramid is a modest limestone-lined room with a gabled roof. It was never intended for a queen. Egyptologists believe it was either an abandoned burial chamber, a serdab, a chamber for the king's statue, or a symbolic chamber for the pharaoh's ka spirit. Its two small shafts, discovered in 1872, do not exit to the outside like those in the king's chamber. They were sealed at their ends. The room is stark and empty, its original purpose swallowed by silence, leaving only its modern, misleading name as a reminder of early explorers' guesses. The Great Pyramid's internal chambers and passageways are strategically placed to avoid creating weak points in the structure. Above the king's chamber, 5 compartments were built, with massive granite slabs to divert the immense weight of the stone above, away from the chamber's ceiling. These relieving chambers are a masterpiece of stress management. The largest granite slabs in the pyramid are here, some weighing over 50 tons. The uppermost chamber has a pointed, gabled roof to further distribute the load. This ingenious design has prevented the burial chamber from being crushed for over 4,500 years. The Great Pyramid was likely first robbed within a few hundred years of its sealing, possibly during the political instability of the First Intermediate Period. The original entrance, concealed by casing stones, was found and breached. The robbers tunneled through the softer limestone around the granite portcullis blocks in the ascending passage. They knew the internal layout, suggesting insider knowledge from construction workers or priests. By the time the pyramid was officially opened in the early Middle Ages, the king's chamber was empty except for a heavy, lidless granite sarcophagus. The treasures of Khufu were gone, lost to antiquity. Far south in modern Sudan, near the Nile's 6th cataract, the kingdom of Kush built its own pyramids at Meroe. Over 200 steep-sided, narrow pyramids were constructed between 720 to 300 BCE for royal burials. They are much smaller and steeper than Egyptian pyramids, with a distinctive offering chapel attached to the east face. Many still have the carved reliefs showing the ruler before the gods. Their isolated location in the desert, often with broken tops from 19th century treasure hunters, creates a silent haunting necropolis that speaks of a culture deeply influenced by, yet distinct from, its Egyptian neighbor. Pharaoh Amenemhat III built a pyramid at Hawara, but it is more famous for the vast mortuary temple at its base, described by ancient historians like Herodotus as the labyrinth. He claimed it had 3,000 rooms, half above and half below ground, full of winding passages that made escape impossible. The site is now a vast field of limestone chips. The entire complex was quarried away. Ground-penetrating radar suggests massive subterranean foundations. The complex was likely an administrative and religious center, its true form and scale lost, existing now only in fragments of text and a flat, featureless plain under the sun. Around the Great Pyramid are the ruins of 3 small satellite pyramids for Khufu's queens, and a cult pyramid, possibly for his ka. To the east of the Menkaure pyramid are 3 even smaller stepped pyramids for his queens. These subsidiary pyramids followed strict conventions. They had their own miniature mortuary temples and enclosure walls. Their burial chambers, though small, were complete. Their presence reinforced the pharaoh's centrality. Even in death, his family and spiritual essence were arranged around him in a carefully ordered eternal court, now reduced to crumbling stone foundations, barely noticed by visitors to the giants. Surrounding the step pyramid complex is a deep, wide trench cut into the bedrock, a dry moat, over 40 meters wide and 20 to 30 meters deep in places. It was not for water, but a massive, symbolic and physical boundary separating the sacred necropolis from the mundane world. Its walls are carved with niches and false doorways, possibly representing a symbolic underworld or a boundary no living person could cross. Crossing required a bridge from the entrance corridor. This moat isolated the eternal stone world of the king from the realm of the living, a profound architectural expression of the separation between life and death. The Giza plateau was not just a construction site, but a bustling temporary city. It housed thousands of workers, administrators, priests, and guards. It had bakeries, breweries, granaries, workshops for tools and pottery, a hospital with evidence of surgeries, and organized cemeteries for the laborers. After the pyramid's completion, this city was largely abandoned, its population moving to the next royal project. The mud brick walls melted away, leaving only post holes, hearths, and refuse pits for archaeologists to find the silent, buried footprint of the immense human effort that briefly thrived in the shadow of the rising monument. The only object remaining in the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber is the sarcophagus, carved from a single block of Aswan granite. It is slightly larger than the ascending passage, proving it was placed in the chamber during construction. Its surface is rough, showing saw and drill marks. It has no lid and its rim is damaged. No royal mummy or grave goods were ever found inside. Whether it ever held the body of Khufu is unknown. It sits, an immense empty stone vessel, in the center of the perfectly aligned chamber, a focus of silence and unanswered questions. The black granite pyramidion or capstone of Amenemhat III's pyramid at Dashur was discovered and is now in the Egyptian Museum. It is a small, perfectly shaped pyramid about 1.5 meters tall, inscribed on all four sides with hieroglyphs and religious symbols. The inscriptions include the pharaoh's names, a winged sun disk, and eyes. It is one of the very few surviving capstones, offering a tangible example of what crowned these magnificent structures. Its polished surface, now dulled, once caught the first and last light of each day, a tiny, powerful apex to a vast geometric form. The local limestone blocks of the Giza plateau are filled with nummulites, large coin-shaped fossils of ancient single-celled marine organisms called foraminifera. These fossils, sometimes as large as coins, are clearly visible in many of the core blocks. They date back to the Eocene epoch, around 40 million years ago, when the area was covered by a warm, shallow sea. This means that the builders of the pyramids were, quite literally, stacking fossilized seabeds into a mountain. Each block is a piece of deep geological time, a snapshot of an ancient ocean, immortalized in a tomb for eternity. The pyramid of Menkaure, the smallest of the three at Giza, was never fully finished. The lower 16 courses were originally encased in expensive red granite from Aswan, transported over 500 miles. The upper sections were meant to be cased in fine Tura limestone, but this work appears to have been interrupted, likely by the pharaoh's death. As a result, the pyramid has a two-toned, incomplete look, with a smooth granite base giving way to rough stepped limestone core blocks. This unfinished state provides a clear cross-section of the construction process, frozen in time for over 4 millennia. The two narrow shafts emanating from the king's chamber, often mistakenly called air shafts, are only about 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters wide. They are not for ventilation. Their ends were sealed at the pyramid's surface. Their purpose was symbolic and religious. They are aligned with specific stars, one to Orion's belt, associated with Osiris, god of the afterlife, and the other to the N, northern circumpolar stars, associated with eternal life. They were likely considered pathways for the king's soul to ascend directly to these important celestial realms, a physical conduit between the burial chamber and the imperishable stars. West of the Sphinx, excavations have revealed the Hayt el Ghurab site, or the Wall of the Crow, a massive administrative and residential complex for the pyramid builders. It includes long, barracks-like galleries that could house up to 2,000 workers in sleeping quarters, along with bakeries, fish processing areas, and a large courtyard. A thick mud brick wall encloses it. This site provides overwhelming evidence that the workforce was a rotating, well-fed, and organized national project of skilled laborers, not slaves. The discovery of animal bones shows they ate prime cuts of beef, a luxury food, further dispelling old myths about their treatment. In Rome, Italy, stands a white marble pyramid built around 12 BCE as a tomb for the Roman magistrate Gaius Cestius. It reflects the Roman fascination with Egyptian culture following the conquest of Egypt. It is much steeper than Egyptian pyramids, built from brick-faced concrete and covered with Carrara marble slabs. It was incorporated into the Aurelian walls. Its sharp, clean lines and stark white surface contrast with the Roman brick around it. It is a striking example of Egyptian architectural influence, traveling far beyond the Nile, adapted to a different culture and time, now standing quietly in modern Roman traffic. The bent pyramid at Dashur has two entrances, one on the north face, typical for pyramids, and a second, unusual one, high up on the west face. The purpose of this western entrance is unclear. It leads to a second set of internal chambers with a corbelled ceiling. Some theories suggest it was for the pharaoh's car, or it was a security measure, or it represents a change in plan, the presence of two separate, independent passageway systems within a single pyramid is unique and adds to the enigmatic nature of this transitional bent structure in the evolution of pyramid design. In 2002, a robot, the Pyramid Rover, was sent up the southern shaft of the Queen's Chamber. After about 65 meters, it encountered a small limestone door or block with two copper pins embedded in it. Drilling a tiny hole through it revealed a small empty space, and then another, a similar block a short distance behind it. The purpose of these blocking stones and the pins remains unknown. They were clearly placed intentionally during construction. The shafts were never meant to be accessed, and these doors seal whatever symbolic space lies beyond, adding another layer of silent mystery to the pyramid's internal anatomy. While not a pyramid, the Great Sphinx, part of the Giza complex, shows heavy erosion patterns that have fueled debate. Mainstream geology attributes the deep, rolling, undulating erosion patterns on its body to wind and water runoff over millennia. However, the pattern has led some to hypothesize much earlier water erosion from heavy rainfall, which would date parts of it to a much older, wetter period. The debate is geological and complex. The Sphinx sits silently, its weathered limestone body, a record of climatic change, gazing eastward as the pyramids cast their long shadows behind it. The king's chamber is constructed entirely from massive blocks of red Aswan granite, a stone much harder than limestone. Quarrying, transporting, and shaping this granite was a monumental task in itself. The surfaces of these blocks show clear evidence of the drilling and sawing techniques used. Tubular drills and straight saws, likely using abrasive sand, emery, or quartz as a cutting agent, were employed. The precision is such that the joints between the multi-ton blocks are often less than a millimeter wide. The room has a specific, dense acoustics. Sounds are absorbed quickly, creating a heavy, profound silence. Next to the main pyramid of Pharaoh Sneferu at Meidum stands a small, ruined cult pyramid. These small pyramids, found at several complexes, likely served a ritual purpose, possibly for the King's Ka spirit, or as a symbolic southern tomb. They had their own miniature mortuary, temples. Their exact function remains debated, but they were a standard architectural element in the pyramid complexes of the Old Kingdom. Today, they are often overlooked mounds of rubble, but their consistent presence hints at a complex, standardized religious blueprint for the eternal journey of the pharaoh beyond death. Discovered in 2013 at the Red Sea port of Wadi al-Jaf, the Diary of Mera is a logbook written by an official named Mera, who oversaw a work crew around the 27th year of Khufu's reign. The papyri describe the transportation of limestone blocks from the Tura quarries across the Nile to Giza, where they were used as the outer casing for the Great Pyramid. It mentions the name of the Vizier Ankhaf, who was in charge. This is the only direct contemporary administrative record of the pyramid's construction, providing a rare, dry, bureaucratic glimpse into the immense logistics involved. The outer casing of the Great Pyramid was made from highly polished, fine white limestone from the Tura quarries on the east bank of the Nile. This stone was prized for its smooth texture and bright white color. Transporting these blocks across the river was a major operation. The casing stones were cut with such precision that the joints between them were virtually invisible, and the surface was so smooth that, according to ancient reports, it appeared as a single gleaming plane. The pyramid would have shone brilliantly under the Egyptian sun, visible for miles, a man-made mountain of light. At the end of the causeway, from the pyramid of Khafre, lies his valley temple, built from massive blocks of granite and limestone, it is remarkably well preserved. Inside, it is a stark, austere space with an alabaster floor and simple, square pillars. Statues of the pharaoh once stood in niches. It was here that the mummification rites likely began. The temple feels cold and solemn, designed for ritual, not for the living. Its empty halls and silent, dark chambers, where the only sound is the echo of water, as a symbolic purification pool was once present, evoke the first steps of the funeral journey. In the 20th century, restoration work was undertaken on the pyramid of Menkaure after a previous ruler's misguided attempt to dismantle it in the 12th century left a large vertical gash. Modern Egyptologists fill the scar with new limestone blocks. The restoration is clearly visible, as the new stones are a different color and texture. This work stabilized the structure, but also serves as a visual timeline, marking where ancient work ended and modern conservation began. It is a quiet testament to the ongoing effort to preserve these monuments against both time and human intervention. The reconstructed solar bark of Khufu is housed in a special museum built directly over its discovery pit south of the Great Pyramid. The boat, over 43 meters long, is a masterpiece of ancient woodworking using planks of Lebanese cedar, joined by rope lashings and wooden tenons, not a single nail. The museum's dim, climate-controlled interior and the smell of ancient wood and modern preservatives create a hushed atmosphere, seeing the sheer scale of the vessel, built for a journey that never happened on Earth, induces a slow, contemplative wonder about the resources and beliefs devoted to the afterlife. Some Egyptologists theorize that the initial construction phase of the Great Pyramid may have involved building a large step pyramid core, which was then filled in and smoothed over with the outer layers. This step pyramid within theory is based on observed structural anomalies and construction logic. It would mean the builders used a proven, stepped design as a stable internal scaffold. If true, it suggests the final perfect shape we see is a shell hiding an older, more primitive form inside a literal encapsulation of architectural evolution within a single silent monument. The descending passage of the Great Pyramid, when viewed from inside, is aligned to the northern circumpolar stars, specifically Alpha Draconis Tuban, which was the pole star around 2500 BCE. This alignment was so precise that the star would have been visible through the passage for centuries. This was not for observation, but for symbolic fixing of the pyramid to the eternal, undying stars that never set. This celestial connection rooted the pharaoh's tomb to the most permanent feature of the night sky, a stone pathway aimed at the axis of the heavens themselves. South of the Wall of the Crow, a cemetery for the pyramid workers was discovered. The tombs are simple mud brick mastabas, but the inscriptions are revealing. Titles like Overseer of the Side of the Pyramid and Director of Craftsmen have been found. Skeletons show signs of healed fractures and medical care, such as amputations. This cemetery proves these were respected, skilled individuals, not expendable slaves. Their burial near the monument they built was an honor. The quiet, orderly rows of tombs stand as a testament to the community that lived and died for the pyramid. Despite popular imagery, the pyramids were not built with mortar bonding every block. Much of the core consists of dry stone construction, where blocks were carefully shaped to fit closely together, relying on gravity and friction. The mortar was used sparingly, often as a leveling bed or lubricant during placement, and in key areas for flexibility. This technique required immense precision in cutting. The weight of the overlying stones locked everything in place. This method is why, when casing stones were removed, the core remained stable, a self-locking, gravitational puzzle of immense scale. At Abu Sir, the pyramid of Pharaoh Nefer-ir-Kare was originally designed as a step pyramid, but was later modified to a true pyramid shape. Due to the king's death, it was never finished, and its outer casing was never applied. Today, it appears as a large, crumbling mound of mud brick and rough stone, revealing the cheaper core materials often used once the visible, fine stone was no longer a priority. Its ruined, indistinct form offers a stark contrast to the perfect ideals of pyramid construction, showing how quickly a monument could decay without its protective skin. Thermographic surveys of the pyramids, conducted at different times of day, map how the stones heat up and cool down. Dense stone, voids, or different materials retain and release heat at different rates. These surveys have identified several thermal anomalies, spots that behave differently. For example, a series of stones at the base of the Great Pyramid show a distinct temperature pattern, suggesting a small empty space behind them. This non-invasive technology slowly builds a heat map of secrets, hinting at internal features without drilling a single hole. A quiet electronic probe of ancient mysteries. In the ascending passage of the Great Pyramid, 3 large granite plug blocks were lowered to seal the passage after the burial. To bypass them, ancient robbers or later explorers chiseled a tarp, tunnel through the softer limestone of the pyramid's core around them. These plugs remain in their original position, a failed attempt at permanent closure. Their presence confirms the passage was sealed from the inside, and their circumvention shows that no physical barrier, however ingenious, could ultimately deter human determination over centuries. They sit as silent, breached sentinels. The pyramids at the Nubian site of Nuri are arranged in tight, orderly rows, clustering around a larger pyramid of the founder, Tahaka. They are numerous, steep, and made of sandstone. Walking among them, one is struck by their density and uniformity. The silence is deep, broken only by the wind. Their isolation and sheer number, over 80 at this site alone, create a powerful, somber atmosphere. They represent the final, prolific flowering of pyramid building in the Nile Valley. Centuries after the practice had declined in Egypt itself, a cultural echo in a distant desert. The bent pyramid contains two separate internal chamber systems, accessible from the north and west entrances. The chamber reached from the west entrance has a corbelled roof and is entirely empty. The air inside is still and incredibly dry. The construction method here, with the stones leaning inward to form the roof, creates a sense of enclosed pressure. There are no inscriptions, no artifacts, just perfectly cut stone embracing empty space. Its purpose remains purely architectural and symbolic, a sealed, silent volume of air intended to last forever, never again entered until modern times. On Sahel Island near Aswan, a Ptolemaic-era inscription known as the Famine Stealer recounts a legendary 7-year famine during the reign of Giza. It claims the king dreamt of the god Khnum, who promised to end the famine if his temple was restored. While historically inaccurate, for Giza's time, the story was used to justify temple tax exemptions. It is one of the few later texts that mentions an old kingdom pyramid builder, showing how these early monarchs lived on in cultural memory, their pyramids being the physical anchor for such evolving legends over millennia. Beneath the step pyramid complex at Saqqara lies a vast network of tunnels and galleries, totaling nearly 6 kilometers in length. They were dug during the search for precious stone and later used for burials of sacred animals like the Apis bull in the Serapeum. These tunnels are dark, cool, and maze-like. The walls are rough cut, and the silence is absolute, broken only by dripping water. Venturing inside is to leave the world of the sun completely, descending into a man-made underworld that has existed for thousands of years, a labyrinth of perpetual night. Some researchers have proposed that the Great Pyramid could function as a massive, slow-moving calendar or clock. The lengths of its passages, the angles of its shafts, and its overall dimensions have been linked to the solar year, the precession of the equinoxes, and other astronomical cycles. While these mathematical correlations are often debated and sometimes disputed as coincidental, they reflect a modern desire to find encoded, precise knowledge in the structure. The theory transforms the pyramid from a static tomb into a silent stone machine, tracking the slow dance of celestial time. Reaching the summit of the Great Pyramid, though now illegal, was once a common feat. Those who did described a profound silence, despite the city of Cairo sprawling below. The wind, which is loud at the base, becomes a steady, constant stream at the top. The individual sounds of the world car horns, voices, donkey brays blend into a distant, muted hum. The feeling is of immense isolation and peace, standing on the flattened platform where the capstone once sat, surrounded only by sky and the vast geometric order of the structure falling away beneath one's feet. The Pyramid of Khentkaus, the first at Giza, sometimes called the Fourth Pyramid, is a unique, massive mastaba tomb that resembles a square-based pyramid. Its core is built in rough, uneven layers of local stone, giving it a stepped appearance. It was never cased in fine stone, so its construction method is fully exposed. The rubble and mortar fill between the crude blocks are clearly visible. It stands as a testament to the less glamorous practical side of monumental construction, a functional, durable core without the final, perfect polish, representing the raw effort before the beauty was applied. In the Valley Temple of Khafre, parts of the original flooring made from translucent alabaster calcite still remain. This stone was prized for its ability to softly diffuse light when the temple was in use. With oil lamps or sunlight filtering in, the floor would have glowed with a warm, internal light. Today, in the dim interior, the remaining patches of this polished stone feel cool and smooth underfoot, still capturing and reflecting the faintest glimmers of light that enter through the narrow openings, a ghost of the temple's once luminous atmosphere. The cedarwood boat of Khufu was assembled using ropes made from halfa grass and other natural fibers. These ropes, some as thick as a human arm, were used to lash the planks together. Remarkably, many of these lashings survived intact in the sealed pit for 4,500 years. The technique allowed the boat to remain flexible on water. In the museum, you can see the cool, intricate pattern of the lashing holes and the reconstructed ropes. The knowledge of this knotting and rigging speaks of a sophisticated maritime tradition applied here to a vessel meant for a symbolic, not a physical, voyage. Behind the remaining casing stones at the base of the Great Pyramid, there is a layer of carefully shaped backing stones. These blocks were set at the same angle as the intended casing, creating a stable ramp for the final polished casing stones to be placed upon. When the casing was stripped, these backing stones were exposed, creating the distinct stepped appearance we see today. They were never meant to be visible. Their rough, functional form is a hidden layer of the construction process, now permanently revealed by centuries of quarrying. The ancient Egyptian name for the Great Sphinx was Hor-em-Akhet, meaning Horus of the horizon, Horus was a sky god, and the name linked the statue to the rising sun. The modern name Sphinx comes from Greek mythology, referencing a creature with a lion's body and a human head. The original name evokes its purpose as a solar guardian of the Giza necropolis, its face turned eastward to greet the dawn. This connection to the sun ties it symbolically to the pyramids, which were also solar monuments, representing the rays of the sun petrified into stone. Later pyramids, like those of the 12th dynasty at sites like Hawara and Lahun, had cores made of mud brick. Only a thin veneer of limestone casing gave them their pyramidal shape. Over time, the casing was stolen, and the mud brick cores, exposed to rain and wind, eroded into low, shapeless mounds. These pyramids show a shift in resources and priorities, less focus on eternal stone, more on speed and economy. Visiting these sites today, one sees only vast, soft-edged tells that blend into the desert, their original forms almost entirely lost to time. The lower 16 courses of Menkawer's pyramid were faced with red Aswan granite. This stone is incredibly hard and difficult to polish. The effort to shape these blocks into a smooth, sloping the surface was enormous. Many of these granite casing stones are still in place at the very base. Their surfaces, though weathered, still show the horizontal tooling marks from the final shaping process. They feel rough and granular to the touch, a stark contrast to the imagined perfect smoothness, a reminder of the unfinished state of this last of the great Giza pyramids. The bedrock beneath the Giza plateau is porous limestone that holds groundwater. The water table fluctuates with the Nile's levels. In the subterranean chamber of the Great Pyramid, a small pit was dug into the floor, and in some seasons it fills with seepage. This groundwater poses a conservation challenge, as capillary action can draw moisture up into the masonry. The slow presence of water in the deepest part of the pyramid connects it to the life-giving Nile, the same river that enabled its construction in a slow geological cycle of saturation and evaporation. In the ruined pyramid of Djedefre at Abu Rawash, a deep burial shaft was found containing a unique pink granite sarcophagus set into the floor. It was sunken with a slot around its lid, designed to be sealed with mortar. When discovered, it was empty, but its design was different from the standard sarcophagi of the period. Its presence in an apparently unfinished pyramid adds to the mystery of this site. Was it a dummy burial, a decoy, or was the king's body moved? The heavy, empty stone box remains in its dark pit, a question without an answer. The only indisputable contemporary reference to Khufu in the Great Pyramid is found in the relieving chambers above the king's chamber. In one chamber, a crude red ochre graffiti reads, "The gang The white crown of Khnum Khufu is powerful. The name Khufu appears in a cartouche. This was written by a work gang, likely as an administrative notation marking their section of blocks. This simple, informal mark, hidden from view for millennia, is the primary textual evidence linking the pyramid to the pharaoh Khufu, a fleeting human signature on an inhumanly vast project. The bent pyramid is surrounded by the remains of a massive stone retaining wall. This wall was part of the complex's infrastructure, likely helping to stabilize the desert sand and define sacred precinct. Its stones are large and roughly shaped. Walking along its remnants, one gets a sense of the pyramid not as an isolated object, but as the centerpiece of a large, organized, and enclosed architectural complex, now mostly vanished. The wall creates a quiet boundary between the monument and the endless desert, a man-made limit in an unbounded landscape. At the site of Athribis in the delta, the remains of a small mud brick pyramid from the late period were discovered. It is so eroded that its superstructure is almost gone, leaving only a square, headless stump rising from the soil. Such provincial pyramids, far from the royal necropolises, show how the pyramid form remained a powerful symbol of prestige and connection to tradition. For local rulers, long after the great age of pyramid building had passed, its humble, ruined state speaks of the diffusion and diminution of a once exclusively royal architectural form. The Great Pyramid has survived numerous earthquakes over 4,500 years due to its unique geometry and construction. Its wide base and tapering shape distribute seismic forces efficiently. The internal chambers, with their stress-relieving features, prevented catastrophic collapse. The dry stone construction allowed for minor shifting without breaking. Studies show it can dissipate energy from ground vibrations effectively. This inherent seismic resilience is an unintentional byproduct of its design for gravitational stability, allowing it to withstand the slow geological tremors that have toppled many later, seemingly more advanced structures. Around some pyramid complexes, especially later ones, cemeteries for sacred animals have been found. At Saqqara, millions of mummified ibises and falcons were buried in catacombs. These animals were associated with Thoth and Horus, gods linked to kingship and the afterlife. While not directly part of the pyramid, these vast, silent underground galleries of pottery jars, containing bird mummies, represent an extension of the pyramid's religious universe, a universe where the divine could inhabit animal forms, and where the necropolis was a living, sacred landscape for all forms of life, symbolic and real. The step pyramid of Giza began not as a pyramid, but as a large, square mastaba tomb. Its architect, Imhotep, then had the inspired idea to add successive, smaller layers on top. Eventually, creating 6 steps. This revolutionary idea can still be traced in the structure's internal architecture. The original mastaba form is buried within, like a kernel. This evolution in stone represents a monumental leap in architectural thought, from a simple bench-shaped tomb to a stairway to heaven, all conceived and executed within the lifetime of a single project. On a few sheltered fragments of casing stone or tomb reliefs near pyramids, faint traces of original paint can sometimes be detected. The pyramids themselves were likely not painted, but their adjacent temples and reliefs were brightly colored, ultramarine blue from lapis lazuli, vibrant yellows from ochre, and deep reds would have covered the walls. Today, only microscopic pigment particles remain in the stone's pores. In the right slanting light, one might see a faint ghostly tint, a whisper of the polychrome world that once surrounded these now monochrome monuments, a world of color lost to sun and wind. In an ancient Egyptian text of wisdom instructions known as the Instruction for King Merikare, a father advises his son on kingship. He states, "The pyramid chamber is built of stone. It is completed and made beautiful." This is a rare textual mention of the pyramid building ethos. From the period itself, it emphasizes that the beauty and completion of the tomb chamber were matters of royal duty and prestige. The text frames the pyramid not just as a tomb, but as a finished aesthetic project, a key part of a king's legacy in the eyes of his successors and the gods. The covered causeway that connected the valley temple to the mortuary temple at the foot of Khafre's pyramid was once a long, dark, enclosed corridor. Today, only the foundation walls remain. When the wind blows across the Giza plateau, it funnels through these ruined walls, creating a low, steady whistling or humming sound. This accidental acoustics turns the causeway into a natural wind instrument. The sound is constant and monotonous, a droning note that blends with the desert silence, a sonic phenomenon the builders never intended, but that now adds to the site's eerie atmosphere. So the next time you see a pyramid, remember you're not just looking at ancient stones, you're witnessing a timeless whisper, a monument that has outlived empires, and a mystery that still breathes. Let its stillness become yours. Close your eyes and carry this calm into your dreams. Sleep well.